Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of What I Know, featuring DJ of course. And today we'll be going over how to handle and counter players who are constantly walking back against DJ. So this is a big counterplay to DJ, or big weakness in general, because he doesn't have low forward drive rush cancel. So you'll commonly find, if not on purpose, sometimes on accident, people be doing things for any kind of reason, that it can feel very hard to be threatening around this range against people who are walking around constantly. So one thing that is kind of super important in Street Fighter 6 as a whole is knowing and seeing when people are committing to crouching and blocking in place versus walking around. It might sound obvious, but when someone wakes up from a knockdown and they're blocking like this compared to blocking like this, it makes a world of difference if you can notice those things. Or if they block a poke and then, let's say I do this into this and they're blocking standing, or if I do this into like another poke and they're blocking crouch, right? That tells me very different things. And usually go low, right? So this is something that I've told other people before, but generally speaking in Street Fighter, you want to start, like one of your defaults should be to go low, right? Because if you're walking around and poking like this, you have a much higher likelihood of your opponent walking out of your range and getting whiff punished. And the more you just default to going low first whenever you can, the better it'll go for you, because it's going to force your opponent to start doing this, which is what we want. Because then you can start getting close enough to do throw mixes and stuff like that. It makes them not think of jumping as often because you're attacking their legs. And it has this whole host of benefits. But for DJ specifically, this is a weakness because the aforementioned lack of a low forward. But he has basically two meaningful lows and a third situational low. I'll get the situational one out of the way first. It's what it is. That's all it is. Sometimes this is just useful after like a special cancel, right? Just to make sure that your opponent doesn't just walk out of this. Not something you want to default to. It's just worth mentioning because it does actually have pretty far range, But putting that aside, your two primary lows that you're going to go for are crouching light kick and crouching medium kick, right? Now again, the whole point of this, of going low, is to force your opponent to stay still, because DJ doesn't have a huge reward off of going low on people, right? It's all just to get them to stand still so you can enforce an Oki situation, a throw situation, all those kinds of things. And because of that, one of the most important things you have to do as a DJ player is make sure that you have your crouching light kick, crouching light punch hit confirms on lock. It is vital that you do this. Absolutely. Because he can't get a triple light conversion consistently. Yeah. A lot of the times when you do land something like a heavy Sobot, or let's say you hit them with a regular sway, you're only ever in range all of the time just for two lights. Especially if you're going to use crouching light kick and crouching light punch, because they have more pushback compared to his stand jab. So just in general, do this a lot. Make sure that they're standing still. Absolutely. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is certain ranges make your opponent feel more comfortable to walk back. Specifically, if you do a double light chain and nothing happens after that, right? Let's say you knock him down, right? Often in this case, sometimes your opponent will walk back. Sometimes they'll press a medium punch button or whatever. So you can't just default to doing what I'm about to tell you. But if they are walking back, you need to rep this. You absolutely need to rep this. Yeah? Because if they do walk back, it'll trip them up. And the reason why crouching medium kick isn't... It's good. The reason why it's good is obviously it knocks them down. And it has a decent amount of pushback, so even though it is -6, it is relatively safe most of the time. You just can't do it up close, and I'll talk about how to work around that late in a second here. But it knocks them down. And on punish counter, if you do happen to get a whiff punish with it, and it's actually pretty good for whiff punishment because it is farther than crouching heavy punch. But on punish counter, they can't back tech, which is nice.
What?
Right? But this is where you had to kind of put on character-specific glasses in terms of what information is important. At least I feel for DJ, although other characters can benefit from this as well. But identifying when, let's say you're poking in this range, right? And what they do after this. Are they poking back? Are they walking back? Because that will still be in range. If they poke back, you want to chill. If they're walking back, you want to poke. Blah, 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 blah. So at this juncture of DJ, you're going to need to start applying your own thought process and also information gathering. Like, it's not the same as an Oki situation where you can just kind of run it. Once, you have your little flow chart of routes to go. If you do this, you hit confirm. If they block, you do this. This is a lot more player dependent, match to match, character to character. But again, what we're looking for is, are they walking around at certain spacings and sometimes after certain pokes, right? So, if you do heavy Sobot on hit, you're always in range to have at least crouching light kick and crouching light punch. And going through certain situations and knowing when this is actually available is very helpful. This is a guaranteed and consistent situation. But let's say you do... There are a lot of situations like this. Where I'm not going to get the double light, right? In which case, just don't go for it. But finding out those spacings for DJ takes a long time. It's going to take some labbing. But it's much easier to kind of focus in on the ones that are guaranteed. In this case, this, right? Or if you get them to block a drive rush jab. Now, you have the obvious route of just going straight into the low. Now, the situation after drive rush jab is a very complex one because you're +3 in their face. Anything can happen if you get it at the right spacing. You can throw, you can walk, shimmy, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Two solid options that DJs usually opt for is standing medium punch or back heavy kick. Because you're plus here, and if this hits, even if you're not like hit confirming the initial jab, you can just rinse this anyway, right? Like, you'll be able to hit confirm that no problem. And same thing with back heavy kick, right? And if they end up blocking or something, you can just sway, or you can do a heavy slash, or if they start repping DI, you can do this and then react. But one thing that's actually not used enough by DJs, and I think is super good, is a delay crouching light kick, crouching light punch chain. So you do something like this, where you drive rush, jab, and then you very slightly micro walk forward, and then do the light chain. Yeah, by like a frame or two. And the reason why this is good is because if you do this correctly, and it is hard to do, but it's very worth repping, is because it beats delayed button defenses, right? And delayed defenses in Street Fighter 6 in general are really strong. Delayed jab, delayed tech, all that kind of stuff. And that's what we're looking for, right? Because not only does that beat that, but it also beats people walking back. Right? Cool. Sad part is you don't have charge. You could do it standing still. If you identify and know that the situation that you just got was like a deep drive rush jab block. In this case, you don't have to do the micro walk. You could just delay the crouching light kick and the light punch. But it's not often that you get a raw drive rush right here. You know? It's more often that you get it kind of around here. Which is why we do that micro walk, right? Because you're kind of playing around here, generally outside of people's low forward ranges, crouching medium kick ranges, right? In which case, this is going to hit shallow. And if it does hit shallow, that'll whiff. But if you walk just a little bit, it works. Yeah? How's it going, Josh? So yeah, that is a very good option and worth keeping in mind because this is something you can do on almost all your plus frames. Even on heavy kick as well. You could just go for the straight bump, right? But that's not going to beat their delay timings. And for this one specifically, you do have to micro walk because you're just a little far away. You're not like super up close. This is also very useful if you get a drive rush medium punch. Say about here, right? Same thing, although the timing is later because it's a medium button and the block stun is greater. So, right? And a decent way of practicing this is turning on like a normal throw or a 4-frame counter button or a 4-frame light button with like a 4-frame delay. 4 to 6 frame delay is usually, in my opinion, when people start pressing buttons. And again, this is a pretty advanced technique, at least in my opinion, because it involves timing, it involves execution, it involves hit confirming. And also situational awareness, spatial awareness. Because if you do this, like the same thing, you're not gonna, right? Like you need to know where they are in that moment. Otherwise, it can just get messed up, right? So, that's one counter. And it's a hard to execute counter, but it's definitely worth trying. Give it a shot. And we'll move on to the considerably easier counter, but less rewarding, which is crouching medium kick. So the way you want to use crouching medium kick is a mix of spacing and timing. The reason being is because this is -6, and you can't really just do the same thing like you would with the micro walk light chain. Because if they block that up close, you're just -6 in their face, right? And most people can punish that at that range. right? So ideally, you kind of want to be here-ish, right? Now this is where it gets a little obtuse as Deejay, and you kind of have to mix in other counters to understand how to properly work around this situation. Because let's say I do drive rush jab, right? And it hits kind of shallow. And, or even drive rush crouching light punch. Or drive rush medium, right? The issue is Deejay can often find himself in this awkward space where he's like not close enough to do like a micro walk, but not far enough to have a safe crouching medium kick spacing. And that's also character dependent, depending on how good their 6 frame or 5 frame or 4 frames are, or how long range they are, you know. That being the case, this is when you start working in either a delayed crouching medium kick or like a micro backwalk crouching medium kick. Because that will be safe compared to doing it just directly in place, right? I get punished. I still get punished. So this is, at this spacing specifically, I'd probably go, if I wanted to use this, I'd probably go for crouching light punch. Because crouching light punch has a better pushback. And this is actually a great example of what I was talking about earlier. Where in this case, if you use crouching light kick or crouching light punch and crouching light kick as well, and we'll get to drive rush crouching light kick in a second. But crouching light punch, drive rush crouching light punch, and drive rush medium punch. Driving at this spacing, medium punch not as much because you're sliding forward so much. But this is a good spacing. And that timing is important because there's like this specific pocket of like timing that people do things on, whether it's delay options or they'll feel like the danger has passed and they'll start walking around again. And it's about that long. Like, yeah. So often people will press. Generally, basically, the timing is when they would do a delay defensive option, right? So if they don't do a delay defensive option here, whether it's a jab or like a counter poke, they'll either jump or walk back or walk forward, right? Around that kind of timing. After they've felt like, okay, nothing's happening here. That's when that is useful. It's very like around then, right? And I can't really describe it. It's just, watch this situation play out and you'll see what I mean, right? It's like around a 4 to 6 frame-ish timing when people will decide to act again. Some people will just stand there. It depends on the character, right? Like Giles are more likely to just chill at that spacing. A Zangief would be more likely to just go forward. That kind of thing. So, and it also depends on health and resources, right? If the opponent is low on drive gauge and they blocked a crouching medium kick, they're more likely to just chill out. If they know what they're doing anyway, they're more likely to chill out because they want to get the drive gauge back. So, in which case, going low would not be as beneficial because the goal has shifted around, right? They're not trying to just, like, there's a higher likelihood that they're trying to run away from you depending on the situation. So also keep that in mind. But, so, back to the shit. While in this spacing, drive rush crouching light punch puts you somewhere where you can backwalk safely, micro backwalk into crouching medium kick, have to be safe on block, spacing-wise. The sort of supporting thing here is when you do a drive rush jab and you're not close enough, to do a crouching medium kick and have it be spaced and be safe. In this case, what you want to do is, again, a number of things. This game and these situations specifically are so varied depending on like little micro spacing stuff. So this could be a very like long adventure for people who are learning this. You can do a double light chain to push them into a safer spacing, right? Right? And then you can also do spacing traps there, right? The whole thing, right? Alternatively, you can micro walk throw. Now this is not a very safe option, although it is something you can do. And the reason why that is because if they are walking back after like a 6 frame-ish sort of delay for, you know, however long they choose to. Or they might just be walking back in general. If you're just like a little off, you die. Right? This still happens to me. This still happens to me. It's very hard to identify a situation where you're close enough to micro walk throw and they can't back walk out of it. And it also changes depending on the character. Akuma, of course, Kimberly, Chun-Li, any fast character makes this way less likely to work. In which case, what I would normally default to is either some stuttered offense where I can kind of bully their drive gauge, or again just going for the legs, or chilling, right? You can do a lot of stuff there. Again, it entirely depends, but that's why it's like that option itself is not very great. Just because when you get here and you just space it wrong and you get hit, and sometimes you're not even close to micro walk. Sometimes you micro walk and you're just too far for that to even work, and it's just really hard to perceive. So, moving on, drive rush medium punch. This is another great way of setting up some kind of low pressure where you can, it's more of a threat from farther away, right? And oftentimes when you do this around this kind of spacing, they're pretty far away. And even, well, one, drive rush medium punch has a lot more pushback. So you'd have to do it kind of at this spacing, which is doable. But, you know, it's again, the closer you are spacing wise, the less you want to do a slow move when you do drive rush, just because it, you know, you're much more likely to get clipped doing from your opponent, either checking it with something fast because the spacing is shorter, or just doing whatever, right? Because people be pressing buttons. So you're more likely to get drive rush medium punch to connect here. And this is when crouching medium kick on a delay is pretty good, or the same thing of like micro back walk into crouching medium kick, right? Just to ensure that you're safe. Of course, this all dies to a DI, and some people will just press DI. And again, this is just something that you have to accept as a DJ player. DI is a decent counter, albeit a hard read, because if you just do this into like crouching medium punch, for example, or like a light kick, you can react in time. Now, if you want to move it past that, this is not something I would recommend doing, but it's an option you could rep, because this is highly dependent on your opponent being just a turtle, like a hardcore turtle. Sometimes people will kind of refuse to press anything and they just kind of keep walking back, and in which case you can start repping forward medium kick or micro walk into medium punch again. And that will kind of make them want to poke back, right? Or commit to something. Because you start doing dry rush medium punch, and then they become okay with like just crouch blocking, right? Because even when they do block this, even if they you know, they're blocking this and not parrying it or whatever, they're still out of a pressure situation. So some people are fine to just sit there and block that. In which case, right, you get another little poke out. And then you just kind of delay it a situation later, and then it can clip that, right? So you do this and this into like the target combo for a confirm. Or you can do, if you don't get the confirm, right? This is where like the layers start coming in, right? Sway, whip punish confirm, blah-de, blah-de, blah. So, a lot of options there, a lot of options. And again, the main point of this and the main way that you're gonna get in on people with lows and to force them to stop moving around as DJ, it's very timing dependent, very timing dependent. Because he doesn't even have like a sweep to, you know, discourage people from walking around at this range, you know? So stuttering your offense is super important for this character, particularly against players who have delayed defensive timings, as well as people who just walk back in general. Now, some drive rush options, and these are worth mentioning in general, just because people feel safe to walk around, just period, at this range. Doesn't matter who you're playing against, unless, you know, you're playing against a Bison and they'll randomly do sweep, like the sliding sweep. And this is when drive rush medium kick or crouching medium kick is really useful, because this goes super far. So you have your round start range, and it's like a little shorter than like a backdash away from drive rush or from round start range that this can still hit. And it has multiple active frames as well as a disjointed hitbox. So at this range where this isn't gonna hit and this isn't gonna hit, this will, and that's worth noting, as well as kind of complementing it with a medium kick, right? So keep that in mind. And closer up, a drive rush thing that's definitely worth repping is drive rush crouching light kick. It's a little specific as well, but it is decent to rep because it's plus on block. It's a plus on block drive rush light, plus 2. You're not consistently in a range to, you're actually never in range to do a throw mix there. But being plus 2 is nothing to scoff at. You can set up a lot of spacing traps off of it, as well as on hit, you do get a conversion. It's plus 6. So you can hit confirm off that, and that's a pretty decent option against people who like walk back after, let's say they're playing defensive and they block this, right? Nice place to put it. Cool? And that about does it. Again, micro walk, crouching light chain, very strong. Hard to use, very strong. On top of it recovering in time against people who just straight up jump, right? Let's say you do this. You won't have charge, unfortunately, unless you get like a really deep drive rush jab or something. But still, pretty good option coverage there. You have micro backwalks after plus frames into crouching medium kick are good, or 2-frame lights or 2-chain lights to push them into a more tip range crouching medium kick. Off of drive rush medium punch, there's a lot of pushback here, just in general, especially at the preferred range that you would like to do it. So this is a little better against better forward using a delayed crouching medium kick. Which, side note by the way, if you do get a crouching medium kick, a decent option here, you don't really get Oki here off of a raw dash because the back tech gets him pretty far away. Especially, like, unless, you know, you do it point blank, right? In which case, sure, but you're not using it at that range, so you're more likely to get it around here. So a decent way to consistently get Oki is you'll have to spend drive rush. Thankfully, it's plus 22, so you'll be able to block in time if you do want to do, you know, be safe against reversals and stuff. But it does put you in throw range, so you can't walk shimmy. So something you can do is drive rush jab. And that'll leave you normally plus enough and far enough to walk shimmy if you so choose. See? So, that decent option. And drive rush crouching medium kick from far range. This is super underrated. Super underrated. It goes so far. And it's very nice to complement the drive rush medium kick. Just to be pesky. And drive rush crouching light kick. Even if you don't get the hit confirmed, you're still plus 2 on block. So you can still do stuff like this. So, have fun with that. How plus are you after dash on drive rush 2 MK? After a forward dash, you're plus 10. But their back tech distance is pretty significant, BD, so it's not worth doing unless, you know, their back is against the wall or something like that. And that really pretty much does it for Deejay. He is fairly limited in his direct counters to walking around, especially at range. A lot of your reward is going to be based around getting that crouching light kick chain, getting that crouching medium kick into pressure, or kind of going one layer deeper and going for counter hit confirms or extended stuttered block pressure. Like instead of, you know, doing the drive rush medium punch thing I told you about, instead doing this, you know, that's where things kind of, he has a little bit more depth. But again, I really encourage you guys in general to include lows as a default part of your gameplay, because you can always start there and move on, right? It's just a healthy default to have, and will kind of just set you up for better success when it comes to having those throw loops, or, you know, making them stand still enough for you to apply your pressure. So give it a try. Let me know how it works. And again, you know, I stream on Twitch. Maybe I should start streaming on YouTube as well. I don't know how a dual cast would go, but yeah. Anyways, you guys will know where to find me. GG's and good luck out there.